every Thursday would have the Minerals Commission here with us on the show from 9:30. And of course, also on Original FM, would also have the Minerals Commission there twice in a week on Original FM and Original TV to speak about what's actually happening as far as mining in Ghana is concerned. So Martin Ayisi, good morning.
Morning.
Long time no see.
Yeah, you went to Qatar. You didn't take me along. And Happy New Year.
Many happy returns. Okay, so today, if I look at the front pages of our newspapers, I see the daily graphic. It says boost for local content. Mining investments and receipts reach $10 billion. Then I see the Daily Statesman that says boost for local participation in mining industry. It has your photograph. In fact, both have your photographs. There's also one that the new Crusading Guide says mineral investments and receipts to hit $10 billion as Minerals Commission increases items on procurement. Then we have the Ghanaian Times. This is, in fact, their banner for today. It says $10 billion boost for mining industry as new local content participation regulations take effect. Now, on this show, you've been speaking a lot about local content. For you, you think that is where the real meat is. You keep making the point that, look, that is where the real meat is. And you keep speaking about how we keep revising that particular document. The last time we spoke, we were speaking to the 4th edition, and you were giving us the various transitions. What was in the 1st edition, what the 2nd edition covered, the 3rd edition, the 4th edition. And you hinted that you were in the process with your team of reviewing the 4th, and that even with the 5th, with what you're working on, it will be the real game changer. Today, the papers all publish this, and they say $10 billion boost for mining industry, and that I believe that receipts will reach $10 billion. What exactly are we talking about?
Ronnie, thank you very much, and Happy New Year. It's a pleasure to be here again. If you recall, I told you that when I say this, and people disagree, but we always speak to facts and statistics. And the DNA of this country is mining. You are talking about an economy where the total receipts of everything that goes outside, at least close to about half, comes from mining. You add cocoa and oil and gas, nowhere near, if you add the two. So take about, let's look at just one statistics, 2019. According to the data from Bank of Ghana, about $14.4 billion was realized from everything that left this country by way of merchandise, exports. Now, 7 billion came from mining. Out of it, 6.7 came from gold. So that is the kind of picture we are faced with. Now, for us at Minerals Commission, for my minister, for the institution I superintend over, when we wake up every day, the question is, these billions that are being, that are making headlines today, how much of that can we retain in this country? That is the bottom line. So, again, let me just say a few things. As we sit here...
Just before you get to the bottom line, so we just clear something. So we spend time on the bottom line. Yes. I guess that the stats you give us, for example, the 2019 figure, which presupposes that in 2022 we'll be speaking of something quite exponential.
Yes.
But this, which is supposed to be a good story, appears to be overshadowed by the negatives. So there are two issues. One has to do with the devastation, the degradation, all the things we see. And then the other has to do with reports of leakages, which presupposes that people believe that even if we're reporting some 7 billion, it could have been more than that. Because we hear of all manner of leakages, especially from the small scale side. The point I'm trying to make is that there are people who believe that what we actually record is far less than what actually leaves our country. So irrespective of the positives, there are some negatives about the industry that makes it difficult for us to appreciate. And if you look at the last 6 years, instead of us focusing on all of this, all the talk is about galamsey, pollution, degradation, all manner of things.
Well, my reaction is very simple. I will request for a separate segment to discuss
those specific issues.
But what I can just say in a second or so is to just tell you that many of these leakages are being dealt with.
Okay.
So, for instance, we saw 1.6 million ounces of gold being produced from small scale in 2019. The receipt was a little over $2 billion.
Small scale?
Yes, small scale. Okay? $2 billion, 90 million. Then in 2020, production dropped, or the receipts dropped to 1.2 million ounces. That still gave us still $2 billion. The difference between 2019 and 2020 was just about $40 million.
Did it have to do with the clamp down?
It has to do with two things. First, the price was good.
Okay.
So despite the 400,000 fall in production, you know, the $2
price
billion
made up for the difference.
But the key issue was that they introduced this withholding tax.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it led to smuggling. Okay. So we got battered in 2021, where we saw a near collapse, if not a total collapse, from 1.6 million ounces to barely 100,000 ounces in 2021. Yes. So a lot left this country. That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Right.
Thankfully, government has dealt with that. And if you look at the figure last year, about $1.1 billion from small scale alone.
So no longer withholding tax?
It's there, but it's been reduced.
Okay.
So we've moved from barely, less than $200 million to just over, $1 billion from last year.
Okay.
So these are some of the leakages I believe you are talking about.
Okay.
And then some of the other things the large scale mining companies also do, we're sorting them out because we've gotten to know.
Right.
Yes. So maybe we'll talk about that in the next three segments.
Okay. All right. So now let's speak about the game changer. I see that you issued a public notice.
Yes.
And I have a copy with me here. It says local content and local participation in the procurement of goods and services in the mining industry. Why is this important?
Randy, it's so important and so crucial for our economy.
Why?
One, you see, look at the foreign exchange, challenges we are having. So we sit in this country, and then many of the investments, the big mines, are owned by foreign companies. So when they bring in their money, they have to take it back. Okay, after paying taxes and all those things, they have to take it back. So we sat there and realized that, look, take 2019. If you put together all the taxes and the royalties that went to government as a state, GRE and all those fiscal inputs, that's roughly about $1 billion. And then they spend 3-4 times more in procuring goods and services daily. Now, if you have many of these goods and services coming from outside, then you've got it all wrong as a nation. So if you are telling me that in about a year or two, you're going to get about $8-9 billion receipt from the sale of minerals, the question then is, how much of that goes into goods and services? How much of that goes into servicing of loans, goes into what we call it, paying other things abroad, inputs and co. So if you're a government and you want to get it right, the only thing you have to do is to make sure that all those things they spend these monies on, you get them, to be done here. So for instance, if you look at item number 23, last year, 4th edition, we said that whatever money they get from the sale of minerals, a minimum of 20%, they should run it by the local banks. Now you can see the figure has jumped 3 times to 60%. Yes. So let's say if this year and the price of gold is rising, we are likely to do more than 4 million ounces. So let's be conservative, multiply it by even 1,700. Okay? That's over $5-6 billion.
Yes.
And typically, they return more than 70% of that back to this country. Now, most of it comes to the central bank, and then they are giving, cedis, because the government takes the dollars and then give them cedis. Now, we are saying that instead of putting most of the money in EcoBank, in Stanbic, in ABSA, Stan Chartered, we are not driving them away, where they take their monies back. We are also saying that in this country, we also have the CBGs. We have the Agri Development Bank, we have NIB, we have Ghana Commercial Bank. You also run some of your receipts through them, and the minimum is 60%. So take Newmont, thousands of workers. They make payments almost every day, running into millions of dollars every day. Goldfields, Asanko, etc. When you return these your dollars and they're giving you CDs, keep them at Ghana Commercial Bank, CBG, NIB. You know what that means for these banks? To have these billions running almost every day to the banks, that's a lot of money. Okay? They pay us a lot in annual mineral rights fees. So I'm expecting that if they are doing transfers to Mincom account, I should see it coming from CBG, or I should see it coming from NIB or Agri Development Bank.
So it was in the 4th edition, which is prior to this one, 2023, it was 20%.
Yes, even before the 4th edition, that is last year, 2021, January. There was nothing like that.
It was zero.
And most of them prefer to use the foreign banks.
Yeah.
So quickly we started with 20%. And then now we said no.
So now 60%.
Yes, and that's a lot. So the NIBs, ADBs, commercial banks, CBG, if they are hearing us, this is a boost for them. Billions of dollars in cities that will run through their banks every day. Then they will have money to lend to you and I. So for me, that's a game changer.
Do you consult with the mining companies?
Of course.
In their chamber
of
before
course. So I had a meeting with them in October and did a presentation to them. And then they asked all the questions from Amina to Zinabu. Some I agree with them. So some of the things were even watered down. Some we disagree because we also had the data. I'll tell you another thing, just to move on from.
So let's just exhaust this one a bit.
Yeah,
I want
insurance.
to understand it.
Yes.
So what I see here is that financial services, including revenue from the sale of minerals,
Yes.
strictly incorporated in Ghana with minimum of 20% Ghanaian directors and shareholders. I'm sure you're talking about a company.
Yes, a company.
So what it means is that the companies in the financial services sector that have a minimum of 20% Ghanaian shareholding and directors
60.
must have 60%.
Yes. So let me just do straight economics.
Yes.
So for instance, if you take the banks, some of them are foreign owned, some of them are locally owned, some of them have a mixture.
Yes.
Here we are saying it should be 100% Ghanaian owned. All the shareholders and directors should be what? Ghanaian. So let's say CBG is 100% owned. NIB, it is for the Republic. That's Ghanaian owned. It doesn't matter whether it's a state or a citizen or maybe some other entity. And then Agricultural Development Bank. These are Ghanaian banks.
Maybe be a bit careful because
Yes.
some of them are listed on the stock
Don't
exchange.
worry.
Yes.
We have navigated all that.
Okay.
You understand that? So if let's say company A this year, from the sale of minerals and all your services you provided, it's about $800 million. I'm saying at least ensure that 60% of that went through the banks. I'm not to tell you which bank we should deal with because that will amount to interference.
But it must be a local bank.
Yes, so what we did was to write to Bank of Ghana, which is the regulator. They've sent us those who fall within that category.
Okay.
We've given it to mining companies.
Okay.
So it is for him to decide and go and open an account at, let's say, Car Bank, Prudential, CBG
Or it's also for the banks upon hearing this to also move in.
I have met some of them.
Okay.
Next week I'll have a meeting with all of them and tell them that this is a boost for you. Go and look for the money.
Okay.
I mean, go and then chase them. They have no choice than to do business with you. They try to push back, but you see, we have to put our foot down.
So per the conservative figures you're giving us, if we're looking at some 4 million ounces at a conservative figure of 1,700, what it means is that we're probably looking at a minimum of say 6.8 billion.
Yes.
And out of the 6.8 billion, if we're doing 60%, then we're looking at probably close to 4 billion.
Yes.
Going through the local banks.
Yes. So even if 70% of that is returned, because you see, they have to repatriate some to pay for inputs, which we don't manufacture here.
Yes.
Those will eventually come.
Yes.
Okay? Yes. So typically when the money comes, it hits Bank of Ghana's account, and then they are giving them a cedis. Run it through the local bank.
So Bank of Ghana will get $1.
Yes, they'll get $1.
And then
a certain percentage.
The local banks will get the
yes,
CD.
Yes. So we are saying that when they are crediting your CD account, don't take all to Stanbic, Stanchart. We are not destroying them.
You can take 40%.
Yes,
there.
but we are saying that you will see
60%.
yes, at least 60% minimum.
Okay. So that's one.
That is one.
Okay.
So it's so much.
Right.
And then the same thing, the same principle in the insurance company. I mean, look at the mines. Look at all these big mines in Ghana. You go to Takwa, Daman, you go to Asanko, you go to Newmont, that has 2 mines. Practically anybody working there by law, and all the plant, machine, and equipment have to be insured. We are saying give at least 60% of your insurance placement with the local insurance company. Again, we have written to National Insurance Commission, which is a regulator. They've given us the list, we're giving it to them. You go and do your business. At the end of the day, my job is to ensure that come January 2023, in fact, I will not even wait, media will ask, let us see how much has come in so far. Who are you doing the insurance, placement with? And trust me, the fines run into millions of dollars. They won't risk it.
Okay. So once again, in terms of your engagement, I remember a few years back when I had a program to critically look at the oil and gas sector.
Yes.
One of the issues that came up was about insurance and reinsurance in that sector.
Yes.
And the fact that at that time, over 95% was in foreign hands. And the analysis and therefore the argument then was about capacity of the local insurance industry.
All right.
So in asking for 60% from 20% to be done by these local insurance companies, insurance and reinsurance, did you look at the capacity?
We've looked at all that. They asked that question, and then I'll tell you the flexibility in the law, and then what we told them, and then the trick sometimes they try to play. So you see company coming up and say, if I look at my plant, equipment, machinery, and all my workers and all those stuff, and then the kind of risks we face, my insurance is, let's say, $200 million or $30 million or $40 million, whatever. I have done the checks on all the insurance companies properly licensed by NIC. No company can cough that kind of, what do you call it, do that kind of business. We say no. So we have what we call a consortium, put them together. So if there are about 4 or 5 Ghanaian companies that can come together and run the insurance for you, do that. So when you bring that to our attention and say nobody can meet that condition, we will send it to National Insurance Commission. And then all of them will come together as a group, kind of a syndicate, and do it. That's excess. And that is still higher than what you require. Then the National Insurance Commission will permit you to go outside. But so far, I've not had that experience. Yeah. And I keep repeating this. You see, these things, when you don't start it, you won't make it.
Okay.
When you don't start from somewhere, you can't do it. I keep telling you, I was employed as a young lawyer at Minerals Commission, 2nd April 2002. I remember that very well. I then left Minerals, human rights, after working with my late father, who was a lawyer for a while. There was no company, that's about 20 years ago, doing drilling, Ghanaian owned, doing contract mining. But you see, over the years, Ghanaians got into that space. We have more than 10 companies, Ghanaian, registered, working, providing drilling and contract mining services. And Randy, guess what? Asanko Newmont Goldfields has come to me, or they have never come to me to tell me that this Ghanaian company, they are not performing. So whether it is engineers and planners, whether it is Rockshore, whether it's Ramot, Tonket, Rabotech, they are doing their work, and it is worth over $1 billion. Now I'm saying, we are seeing 3 things happening now as we speak. One of the biggest gold mines, perhaps if you like, in the world is currently under construction. It will be commissioned roughly about 2 years from now. That's over $500 million mine. Okay? Yes. Take that one. Then the lithium one, also to be commissioned by 2024. That one is in what we call in central region. Then also add a Hafonov, that is $850 million. So I've mentioned 3 new mines, actually 4. So the lithium at Ewoya, Azuma Resources.
The lithium is where?
At Ewoya in Infantiman area there. That's
Ewoya.
Yeah, Ewoya. I'm told the real meaning means death is painful or something.
Ewoya.
Ewoya or something. Yes. So that's Infantiman in the central region.
It started already?
No, they've submitted their feasibility. We are looking at it, and then the plan was that by 2024 they will start producing
lithium.
Yes, lithium.
Foreign company.
Yeah, foreign company, of course, with some Ghanaian interest. Okay, so that's one. And then Hafonov, that's about $850 million. So if you look at
new mine.
Yes, a new mine altogether, about 30 kilometers north of the current Newmont Ahafo South. So if you add Hafonov lithium, that's about $1 billion investment within these 2 years. Add Cardinal, about 500. Add Azuma, that is coming up. So that gives
up north.
Yes, up north. So that gives us roughly about $1.8 billion. There may be cost overrun. So let's say $2 billion within 2 years. These are new investments. They will be doing insurance. A lot of money will be coming. They'll be paying workers, providing goods and services. So it tells you that the receipts are going to go up. Okay, now the second category are those who are doing what we call redevelopment. Obuasi mine, $1 billion has just gone the drain already. Then Bibiani mine, which has been dead for 6-7 years, is back in life. They started producing last year. End of this year, they might do about 200,000 ounces. Price of gold is 1,800. You even use a conservative figure of 1,600 or 1,700. That's a lot. So Bibiani is back in life. Then come to talk about those who are also doing expansion. So like Wassa at Chimping, again, they require about $1 billion. They've started to deepen the mine. It will be far deeper than what we call it, Obuasi. Then Newmont at Chim2 is also planning underground. So these are new investments that have come in, and within the next 2-3 years. So by 2025, 2026, we might even be doing perhaps about 5 million ounces or so. Okay, this year the projection is to do about 4.7, 4.8 million ounces. You multiply it by even $1,500 an ounce. That's a lot of money. So when I talk about we are almost there and we are there, that is a 10 billion industry. That's what I'm talking about. I'm looking at the receipts and also the investments that have come in.
Okay.
And there are more to come. Yes. So it's not about just mentioning figures that are running to billions of dollars, but how do we ensure that Ghanaians get to do this thing? When I called a meeting in October, even just this Monday, Tuesday, the first day after the holiday, we met with the Chamber of Mines in their office. The minister was invited, so we had a discussion. And something struck me. I didn't see Blofonio or a white man in that room. All the CEOs, all the managers, those who matter, who make all the decisions. Forget about the fact that the shareholders are abroad. We're Ghanaians. Again, 20 years, you call such meetings, a lot of them are experts from Canada, Australia, maybe after the collapse of apartheid, South Africa. You find 1 or 2 Ghanaians, if you are lucky. Those things have changed. But you see, when we don't tell our story, then we keep hearing about Galamsey and all these kind of things. So for mining, we need to do all these things. Look, let me take you to something interesting. Look at number 43.
Before we go to 43.
Yes.
Let's speak about 25.
25.
Yes.
Contract mining underground operations. Yes, we've just added 10, so it's moved from 30% to 40. Now, juxtapose that with 24. As for 24, no-go area.
Yes.
Yeah, so
now surface is exclusive.
Yes, surface is exclusive.
Underground is now moved from
30
to 40.
Now, underground is capital intensive and it requires a lot of technology. So it's too early to now start asking that, look, Ghanaians should do it. When we get to the point where we can get 3-4 Ghanaian companies who can do it very well to the satisfaction of the industrial standards and requirements, again, we'll...
But you believe that we currently have the capacity to do 40%?
We have, yes.
So, but how did the 30% fare? it was 30 under the fourth edition.
So far, I know of Obuasi mine, which is Ghanaian and then an Australian company. We call it, the JV is called Underground Mining, UME, Underground Mining, whatever. So it's Rockshore and I think some Australian group. Then if you look at Newmont, the underground, which was added to the surface, it was an Australian company that was doing it, AUMS, underground. Their contract ended sometime in March last year. March, you see, these are the reasons why we do these things. The contract ended in March last year. And then we had bought a 30% last year, January. Okay? So then they came to us and said, what happens to us after March, now that you have introduced the 30% minimum? Because we had it the year before. Then I said, you have to take steps to comply with the new directive. So they requested for some kind of extension. They asked for a few months, actually up to September, and I granted them up to December. That's about 12, whatever, just to make sure that they comply with the minimum 30%. They have done that. So they are now bringing some Ghanaian group to work with some foreign companies to get that done. Now, but for bringing this 30%, the Australians will have continued. And then the billions will keep going.
So on the
outside.
basis of the performance last year, you believe that it must increase to 40?
Yes, and if you don't do it, and you see, these are not things that we just get up and do. Because you see, underground, if you joke, there will be accidents. You have to meet the best standards. So that is it. And they are complying.
Right.
We've engaged them and then they are in full compliance. And let me say this. Contract mining, both underground and surface, run into billions of dollars. Billion. Contract mining alone, that's the biggest. And as these new mines come on stream and this new expansion, we're going to talk about $2-3 billion. So you see, if you sit here and allow foreigners to come and do this thing from Australia, South Africa, the money will go back. We'll have capital flight. So if there's an area that we have to tackle quickly and make sure that we protect the city and then we make Ghanaians very rich and build local champions like the Samsungs and Hyundai and all those things, it is mining. And I'm saying where we have capacity, we are not stupid. Where we have capacity, we will preserve it for the Ghanaians. Where we have some kind of capacity, we'll do it relative to whatever we have. We've come a long way. 100 years mining, there's a lot we can do by ourselves.
All right, so now let's get to the 42 that you wanted to speak
about.
The
43 first.
43, okay.
So medical services, and I'll tell you how funny the companies behave and how interesting these things behave. So you have companies that go and give contracts to foreign companies. They give contract to foreign companies, okay, to run their medical services. Pay them millions of dollars. Then the companies come in here and hire Ghanaian doctors and other ancillary health workers to run the mine. So let's say if the contract is worth, let's say $5 million, maybe you will spend about 3 or a third of that to pay the health workers here, set up the facility. The rest goes back. So when we discovered that, then we said, no way. Effective this year, no foreign company should be allowed to provide medical services at the mine site. So there was a particular mine in Western region. The contract with the foreign company ended in December. We did a presentation in October. So just this January, a Ghanaian has gotten the job. That is the kind of thing we need to understand. You see, so when we don't tell you this story, you don't know. So a mine that has about 2,000-3,000 workers, you can imagine health facilities, and this includes their spouses and children. So within a space of 2-3 months that we change the rules, a Ghanaian company is going to run the medical service at the mine site. Okay? Another company, their contract will end in March. I've given them about 3-4 months to transition and then give the contract to Ghanaians. These are worth millions of dollars. So you see, if you sit down quietly and you don't tackle these things and you're only thinking of royalties, etc., before you realize, they will spend about $50, $20, $30 million on health services. It will go back to Australia, it will go back to Canada, etc. When we're having the discussion, they were saying, oh, we don't have there are some medical challenges that cannot handle it. I said, there's nothing that stops a Ghanaian from bringing an expert. So I'll tell you an interesting story. They wanted a certain specialized skill. So we can't get it in Ghana. I said, have you come to me for me to run it by the Ghana Medical Association? Okay, and then eventually there are some Ghanaians they got in the diaspora, because you see sometimes you will send this in to the Ghanaian doctors, and for some reason you will say, oh, you know, for family reasons I can't move from Accra or Kumasi to the mine site, because the doctors, you have to be at the mine site. Okay, so you are not able to get maybe somebody who wants to move. You've gotten somebody but he's not prepared to move. So what we'll do is that we also run it by Ghanaians who are outside this country, and we get them. So I'm going to have a meeting with the Ghana Medical Association and then give them a full briefing. And then they will also have to reach out to all their Ghanaian friends, particularly in UK and then Australia. And then we'll give them all the specialist areas that the mines normally require. So if a Ghanaian cannot get it, bring a Ghanaian from outside rather than bringing a foreigner. So Goldfields, Anglo Gold Ashanti, Dua Prim, all the workers there are Ghanaians, they're 650. I think about 2 years ago, they had the MD who was from South Africa. We asked him to leave because his time was due, so we didn't renew it. They shop around and went and brought a Ghanaian from Australia. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So don't come and tell me that I didn't get some type of specialist respiratory disease anywhere here, and then I have to bring somebody from South Africa or whatever. Let me run it across the Ghanaian community. So we are on them. And then let me wrap up on this by saying that the fines here run into millions of dollars.
Fines for breach.
Fines for breach, even by not telling us.
Okay.
So they know. Last year,
millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars. They know, so they don't play with it. So if you're a mining director or a CEO, and your shareholders will get to know that you have paid $2-3 million to government just by not following the rules. But we have given you a procurement list. They are supposed to prepare their 5-year procurement plan. We gave them up to December last year, but because of this new list, I've given them up to 1st March. So 1st March, not later than 1st March, that is roughly about 2 months from now, all the producing mines, they have to give us a 5-year plan on all this. So if you come and tell me that I'll buy 80% of this item locally, and then I'll buy the other 20% from outside simply because I cannot get 100% here, and we sign off, Mincom signs off for you. At the end of the year, if I do a review and I realize that the 80% you promised, not me, you promised to buy locally, you did 79. I risk finding you for not doing the 80. So what you have to do is that quickly, if you are not meeting your target for whatever reason, quality, delay in shipment, force majeure, whatever, run back to Mincom and say, Mincom, I promise to do 80% of, let's say, grinding media or explosives or whatever locally. Because of these challenges, I will default and I have to do 70. So instead of 20 from outside, I'll now do 30 from outside. You have to convince us and we have to sign up. If you don't do it, that 10%, next time I'll come and give you semblance of what goes into the fine.
All right.
The same too has to do with bringing an expatriate here to come and work.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Mr. Ayisi, we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, a lot.
But let's leave it here.
Yes.
Next Thursday, we'll be here to try and exhaust this one.
Yes.
And then we can move on to other issues. And then with this one, when we deal with it, I also want us to look at how Ghanaians, especially those who are not already in the sector, can enter into the space. Yes. So thanks a lot.
Including the likes of you.
Thanks a lot for your time. And thanks for watching as well.